Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I wanted to talk about how I approach melodies. This was something that I really struggled with for a long time, and I feel like people even to this day still might. And so I just want to shed some light on how I write melodies, how I come up with them, what tools I use to kind of start the creative juices for writing melodies slash chords, etc. And yeah, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. So in the previous video, I showed a little bit of this. It was this device called AS Steps, but mine is called HB Seek or Sequence. And so this was basically just a generator for melodies, and then I would use it to go and either write melodies or I could use it to write chords. But essentially, if I just grab a synth and just drop it in here, then it would go and, I have this melody, and obviously it doesn't sound very good, so I slow it down in half. And I could actually like make a bit of a sound. And so anyways, yeah, I would just go and mess with this sequence device until I have something. And then once I do, then I would go and basically collect the MIDI notes themselves, because from this device, you can't actually collect the MIDI notes. It's all just within this sequencer. So the way to get that is to go ahead and choose the channel. So you basically you'll open up a new MIDI channel. On that new MIDI channel where it says all instruments, you'll just choose the channel that has the MIDI sequencer on it. So in this case, it's channel 5. And then once you do that and you arm this channel, it will show the MIDI data. So now I can go ahead and collect that MIDI data by just recording. And so then now I have that. And then I can just move it up here. I can turn this device off. And now I have the MIDI data. And so you can do this with any MIDI sequencer like this. Even I think plugins like Scalar, if you use Scalar, I'm pretty sure you can do the same thing to grab that MIDI data. And so yeah, this could be a melody itself. Or like I said, I can go and play around with these notes to generate chords as well by just, moving these here and then playing around with like inverted notes. So like this is the same one, so maybe I could bring it down an octave for like a more lower bass note. And so that is one way I go and approach it. Now another way that I also do it is I'll go and just collect the MIDI data from samples. And so, this has been a feature inside of Ableton for quite some time now, and it's definitely hit or miss, but sometimes I can just go and recreate it by ear if I just like slow down the BPM super slow. You can't see because the camera's in the way, but I'll slow like the BPM down like to like as low as possible. So the lowest inside of Ableton is 20 BPM. And then I'll just go and like listen to each note and recreate it in here. But for this, we'll go ahead and just right click on a sample and you can convert to harmony, which will give you basically like chords and a lot more MIDI data extracted, whereas melody is just going to be I guess it could be described as like more monophonic. It's just only a couple of notes that are extracted. So this version or this option is better for chords, or even if there's chords and a melody, you can collect all of that information. And then melody is just, say it's like literally a melody loop, and you're just like, okay, it's pretty straightforward. There's no like reverb, there's no background effects, nothing like that. I can just collect this using the melody. So here are some samples from Splice. I tend to find pretty good melodic samples from Splice. And so, yeah, here's the two options. Oh, this is a little bit faster. So yeah, I really like this sample, and so I'm going to try and not necessarily create the exact chords and melody, but it's a pretty good starting point for me to jump from to generate something myself. So I'm going to go ahead and use the harmony function because I hear there's a bass note and it sounds like there's chords as well as that top melody. So it's converting that to MIDI now. And so now I have quite a lot of data here. And as you can hear, some of these first notes are a little off. So if you listen to this, and then, yeah, so we'll have to go in and start kind of messing with that. And so typically what I'll do is I'll go and create it exactly the same. And then once I create it exactly the same, then I can go and start kind of cutting stuff up. I can go and change the key if I want to. You know, I can go and start making it my own. And then also, you know, I can go and use other sounds, obviously, or I can even try and recreate the essence of the sample itself. But it's really fun and a very helpful way if you are someone like me who struggled with writing chords and writing melodies for quite some time. So yeah, so let's go ahead and kind of get this sounding similar. Now this is a bit of a painstaking process sometimes, depending on how you look at it, but it is kind of fun to get it to sound as close as possible. So I'm just gonna listen in. Okay. And so a lot of these additional notes, they're just coming because, or they're just showing up because there's this echo that's happening on this particular note. So typically you can just get rid of those. Probably don't need these. And so you can do what I'm doing and recreate it exactly, or you can kind of just start to make your own. Because sometimes as I start deleting notes, I'll start hearing other ideas in it. So yeah, you can approach this many different ways. You can build it verbatim and then go and start subtracting or changing things, or you can just kind of free flow and start creating your own thing. Alright, so as you can see here, this is the bass note, so it's just these three notes and then it happens again. So I can make this pretty easy for myself and just duplicate that. And I probably don't need to have this repeat twice. Try to stick with this for now. And then I'm going to do some octave notes from the bass up here, because there's this one there, and that one there. And maybe go up like a fifth. Actually, we'll do a seventh. So I just went up 7 notes. So I don't know music theory that well. I have my own understanding of music theory. And so all I know is that if I do a 7th above whatever the bass note is, or a 5th, typically it sounds pretty good. I know there's like perfect thirds, perfect fourths, perfect fifths, etc., etc., etc. And you know, having a 7th above the root is some type of chord, or I forget what, there's triad, and I forget what the 4 is. But anyways, yeah, I know that like the major fourths and major fifths, things like that, are always like really nice chords and used in genres like jazz and neo soul a lot. And so I think that's why I gravitate towards this combination, maybe. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Someone who is more versed in music theory can probably explain it better than I can. But if you have no music theory knowledge like me, typically you can get away with this and it will sound good. So yeah. I was trying to get somewhere. If I just repeat this phrase. So I do it like that. Oh, that's fine. And then, yeah, this last chord, I'm like, oh, I could switch it up. Maybe have it go up. Or ascend, I mean. Actually, maybe it would be... And so, yeah, we're in a pretty stock sound, so I must switch it to something a bit more interesting. Or even just do like a preset. Okay, actually, I'll just go back. even try lower. Okay, anyways, yeah, sorry, I haven't been talking much. But so now we have an interesting sound, and so it's always just like these little things that can always kind of inspire new ideas for the melody, at least for me. So it could be the sound, it could be also just changing, the key as well, or I could go and like bounce it out and reverse it, or I could just do a lot of different things that could kind of inspire new additions to the melody, or me rewriting the melody, things like that. So the next thing I would probably do once I've established a good melody and a good sound is go and change the key. So I would just select all of them, and maybe I'll go up. Might do this in a different sound. Yeah, let me just duplicate this and try like a bell sound. So actually, let me just in it. Let's go back to what I was originally doing. Try. There we go. A little bit too low. Might be a little bit too wet. Okay, so yeah, now I'm just curious if we were to listen to the original sample compared to what I have. So it still has, you know, like this beginning phrase is similar to what I have here, but then the second part of the phrase is different than what's happening here. I just went ahead and just repeated these two notes here. Or let me... And then this note I changed, I think it was like up here before. So it's just like little subtle things like that to where eventually it kind of leads to your inspiration is taking over and your creative mind is taking over, to where you're not relying so much on the actual sample itself and the melody, but like I said, just trying to capture the same essence of what the sample makes you feel, perhaps. And so then you, again, you know, you can go and play around with the key of this, even if you just leave it at the original key. You know, obviously you don't want to go and copy it verbatim, but at the same time, you're copying a sample that is in a sample pack versus like copying an actual song. So you get a bit more leeway there. But I like making samples feel like my own. Now I can also do, if I want to capture the essence of, you know, say like the guitar, for example, then I can go and just throw it into a guitar. But again, I can go and make that guitar my own. So I have a pretty good guitar library that I'm thinking of. Let's just try it. Let's just see. And then also that could inspire new parts of the melody as well. So if I'm looking for, let's see. Contact 7 is very slow at loading. Hopefully it does not crash. Okay, I think we're in business. Oh. See, that sounds not too bad. Let's try. Echo. So I'm just holding down these patterns. So I'd have to activate this key in order for the pattern to be held down without me having to hold it down. So just look for E1. I just drag it out for the entirety of the pattern. Gives it a bit more like a realism to it. And I could like switch it up maybe to, I think F1 was another one. And I could like return back. And then we can kind of get a bit more creative with it. Now I'm just kind of like leaning into the sound design of it, just trying out tools that I have that I recently picked up, or just tools that I really like, and just like making it my own now. We can also try like guitar rig. I like this. I could also, I'm curious. Oh, it's a little bit too high. Oh, wait. Okay, so I only need to do this. Try some others. Oh, wow. I don't know why it stops So yeah, anyways, I could keep going on. I'm kind of just like adding a bunch of random effects and just building the essence of the feeling from the sample, but in my own way. And so, yeah, this has gone on for quite some time now, but as you can see, I'm kind of in just going and going just from pulling some MIDI data from this sample here and again, like creating it as my own. So I can go and do that. I guess I'll move on to another way, which is when it comes to writing something out and you're just like, I have no basis. Like I don't want to use a sample. I don't want to use a melody generator, nothing like that. It could just come from an idea in your head, or you're just, developing something just completely off the dome. And I feel like the best way to start is you could go write chords. But I find, at least for me, it really helps me when I write just like the bass line. And I can kind of go and build chords around that. So I might go and use like a vocal sample sometimes. And I can build like a bass line around that. But if we were just to start from scratch, I typically use a Reese just because it evokes a certain feeling from a Reese being on its own. And I think that might just be something that I caught on to throughout the years of just listening to music and just being personally drawn to the feeling of a Reese bass by itself, because it just feels so hollow, so sad in a way. Haunting, I guess haunting is the word. So I'll just use this Reese that I made, and I think it is a little bit hot. Yes, and so this can kind of spark something completely different because you're starting with the bass line. However, you can start with just writing chords themselves as well. But I find, for me anyways, like I said, I can typically write some interesting chords depending on the bass line and depending on the context of the chords with the bass line. So let's just try something. Okay, so I like the bass line, so now I can go ahead and start building out some chords. Let's see. G. Alright. Yeah, pretty nice. Then maybe we could do like one more with this one going up. Cool. And then yeah, that's kind of it. Like all I'm doing. I mean, granted, this came together quite quickly, which I'm pretty surprised. But I'm just trying to figure out the relation of which note harmonically sounds good with the bass. And I mean, I know that's kind of like the whole entire essence of building chords. And I know that there's like theory behind it and all that stuff, but I'm just kind of going based on ear and just seeing like what evokes a feeling that I gravitate towards. So this, I don't know if there's a name for this or not, but where like there's like one note that's just repeating in every chord. It's just this D over and over and over and over. And so this is probably the root note of this chord progression that I just made. And then you know, these lower notes are probably like some inversions. So these are probably like some inverted chords where if I brought this up, that's probably how the actual chord would be. But I just have these inverted notes for these two, is my understanding. And yeah, I mean, some of them are just straight up triads, whereas this one is not a triad. It's a, I think, dyad. Is that two? And then over here I have like 4 notes, which is a yeah, I don't know the name. But yeah, I think it's interesting because it allows for me to kind of break what would be if I knew like traditional theory, where I probably would be trying to build out a specific chord or a triad for each of these chords. But yeah, it's just kind of throwing notes together and Frankensteining it a bit until it sounds good to me. So yeah, I can't tell you what specifically it might be. One thing I can recommend to watch for further development of like really good chords is some of the Dead Mouse videos of like back when he used to stream. There's like one where like he makes these really amazing chords and then he ends up like scrapping them. I think it's like Dead Mouse Scrap These Chords is like the name of the video. But watching that, it was really interesting, like how he just tried all these different notes and just combining them until he found something that like felt right. And so he would just tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak until eventually it was like, okay, this is it. And so he would just use, I think it was like Control Spacebar, and you can start from these different points. So he would just like keep doing that Control Spacebar over and over. Or I think on Mac it'd be Command Spacebar. But then he could just like focus only on this chord in the progression instead of like starting from the beginning each time. Because you know, if I click here, it still starts from the beginning. But if I click here and hit Control, it starts from these different spots. So yeah, super helpful. If you take anything from this video, that shortcut's really handy when I'm writing out chords. And yeah, watch that video, because again, he doesn't really explain theory at all. He's just going based on feeling. And some of his chords are obviously like amazing, like in the same realm as like whatever scale Radiohead writes in. Like it's just like this really just like dark and moody kind of chord progression, and I really gravitate towards that. Whatever that is, I think it's Mixolydian, something like that, but it's just something about it that's really nice. Yeah, so anyways, this is another way just to kind of like write some chords off the dome. And again, I could go and like group these, for example, and I could go and use pitch shifter, or sorry, pitch wheel. Yeah, there we go. And I could just go and like move this around. And again, it just completely changes the feeling, but still feels similar. I don't know, like each time I change it, like even here, I could be like, even that. So yeah, this bass line is like slightly different from this one, but because I went and changed the key, it kind of inspired these other notes that I'm like, oh, this could work, and then I can go and change it to lower instead. This one I might have to change back actually because of this note down here. So yeah, and so I know that I have a good progression when I can change the key to any of these and I like it. That's when I typically know. So if you change it to certain ones and you're just like, I don't really like it anymore, that's when you know it's not a good chord progression. So yeah, any of these I change to, I typically am like, yeah. Like that's nice. And then I guess if I were to write a melody on top, let's go ahead and do that real quick. I usually just start with like a little section of it. So let's do Silent. Or actually, I just got this Purity. Let's see if this works. Oh, it's not gonna work. I had to It's only like 32 bits, so I had to use JBridge to make it work. Sometimes it does. Something I had to do to make it work, but it may be a bust. Ah, damn. Anyways, okay. Let's do, I have another plugin. Or let's use this. I haven't used this for a while. Let's go back and turn this off for now. delay. Always try reversing the reverse. That one again. So yeah, again, it's just me kind of getting lost in that process of creating, and a lot of it does have to do with the sound design, because you can get away with making things just sound really cool. And I mean, going and just recording only the echo of the crystallizer plugin that I had here, and then just going and pitching what I resampled up an octave makes for a really nice like background later. Really nice sound. And then of course this melody here, that was originally this. Both really nice. And of course the chords. Really simple. And then the Reese. So yeah, like I said, using the Reese, or depending on like the sound that you're using, I feel like depending on like what context you have with the sound, it will go and push you to write chords or bass lines within a certain mood or style. So play around writing in different sounds, because the sound can really define what you're going to write. And so I've seen some people where they only just write using the piano, or like a piano plugin or something, or even just like Rhodes or a sine wave or a saw, whatever it might be. But I think, yeah, trying different sounds and writing things, it can really generate some drastically different but also interesting results. But yeah, anyways, hopefully this gives more insight into how I start writing melodies. And yeah, sorry, it's kind of a long video, but I go back to this. Yeah, so if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask regarding melodies, but I'll leave a link for that deadmau5 video in the description of the YouTube video. So if you click through on the Patreon post to YouTube, it'll be in that description. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Sorry, it's kind of long, but I really wanted to demonstrate the entire process on how I get to this result. So hopefully this helps. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye.